Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I relive past events. I am transported next to the men and women who wrote history. I move through their lives like a ghost of the future. I am a messenger of memories, a link between our time and their world. My voice will guide you through these episodes to bring back their stories as they appeared to me. Loud sounds burst in my ears like distant explosions. The deafening noises then become clearer and clearer. My eyes open. I am greeted by the ominous grey sky above me. I am on my back, lying in cold mud in a deep hole. There are explosions on all sides. The rumbling never stops, and the horizon lights up continuously. Close to me there is a soldier. He seems lost and terrified, huddled on the ground. He holds a long rifle with a bayonet against him. He looks so young. His thin moustache is almost invisible, contrasting with his thick black eyebrows. His equipment is covered with mud. Only the top of his coat shows the sky blue colour of his original uniform. Another soldier, a little higher up, orders him, "Get up, soldier." It's probably an officer. The soldier next to me gets up immediately. I imitate him while the sergeant watches us. I climb out of this muddy crater with difficulty. Once I arrive at the top, I find myself unable to breathe when I look at the scene before me. Hell is unfolding in front of me. Two tree trunks, burned and decapitated, remind us that life has once existed here. But now, all around, absolute nothingness. Dead earth as far as the eye can see, blackish and shapeless. On it, thousands of men. They walk step by step towards a trench where their enemies are hiding. They advance, then fly away, caught in the explosion of a shell, a grenade, or a mine. They fall, mowed down by machine gun fire like disjointed puppets. Life has abandoned this place. Yet here I am, in the heart of the Great War. These soldiers called Les Poilus, true heroes in spite of themselves. Poilu is the nickname of the ordinary foot soldiers. Another trench winds through the mud behind me, barely 100 meters long. Hundreds of other soldiers are coming out and shouting for courage. I want to join them, and I move forward with them. Here I am in the fray. The sky feels as though it's collapsing around me. Bombs are raining down and stirring up the earth in a terrible smell of burnt death. A terrible thunderclap suddenly splits my ears. A shell has just shattered a few meters in front of me. In a sparkling light, a man rises into the air. He has both arms perfectly stretched out, but his legs no longer belong to the rest of his body. His cry of pain surpasses all other sounds of battle. It turns my blood to ice. But we must continue to advance. The bursts of machine gun fire are getting closer. Further on, behind the barbed wire, I can see the faces of two of our enemies. They are just as young. They are just as scared. I stare at their gun. It is pointed at me. A storm of bullets flies from it. It's over. My end is approaching inexorably. A bullet goes through me. Then a second one. And another one. But I feel nothing. I look at my stomach and I don't even bleed. In the madness, I forget that I'm not really in this battle. I'm just a ghost. I'm a witness, a voice to remind us of these men cut down in the heart of the war. Around me, all the men have fallen. Behind me, a man suffocates. I crouch down beside him. My hand goes through him as I try to grab it. He doesn't even see me. A small silver military plaque hangs around his neck. Victor Morel, service number 1751, from the 135th Infantry Regiment. He was 21 years old. On his left, Léopold Abrassat, 28 years old. Alexandre Massot, 40 years old. Fernand Bourdet, 19 years old. And so many others that history has forgotten. A whistle sounds. The men still standing turn around. The officers ordered them to retreat. Now they must try to avoid the shells and the enemy's fire. The attack was useless. Stretcher bearers, risking their lives, tried to bring back the wounded, but they were too numerous. They could not all return. The man I had seen in the crater was injured in the leg. He managed to pull himself up on a stretcher and return to the trench. I follow him. For 3 days now I have been wandering like a shadow in the trench that serves as a makeshift camp for the squad I have been following since the battle. This morning it will finally be relieved, and we'll be able to leave the front line for a few days. The Germans have not fired back since our attack. However, the shells continue to whistle regularly over our heads. The men are exhausted. They hardly sleep, hardly eat, hardly drink. Of course, the enemy remains the most significant threat, but it is the cold, the rain and the mud that make daily life so difficult. The lack of water and food, the rats and lice, the smell. I wish I could not smell. The air is stinking with corpses from the battlefields. Human waste of all kinds decomposes in the rickety walls of the trenches. Only the rats and worms enjoy this pitiful situation. Jean, the soldier wounded in the leg, is still with us. Due to lack of space, he could not be evacuated. His wound has become infected. I hope he can be treated. But he was still lucky in his misfortune. The stretcher bearers still saved him. Unfortunately, other unfortunate soldiers were not so fortunate. They were left in no man's land and are slowly dying. They keep calling for him. One of the soldiers, Halle, had the misfortune to speak a little loudly yesterday morning. One of the wounded recognized him. Halle, are you there? Come to me, please. Please don't leave me like this. At least give me some water. He called out all morning, and even more in the afternoon. At night, the dying no longer call their comrades for help, but their mothers. We hear dozens and dozens of moans, high-pitched, weak and heartbreaking. Mama, mama, and nobody to help them. The men beside me have been sleeping for 3 days, haunted by these whispers. Fewer and fewer and weaker. Soon they will die out for good. The relief finally arrives for Jean as he is put on a wooden board, and the whole squad, or at least what is left of it, can escape the hell for a while. I find Jean in a hospital in the rear. He is on a bed, surrounded by dozens of other wounded, crammed into a large room. Around them, the nurses are working as hard as they can to provide care. Jean takes a yellowed piece of paper and puts it on his lap. He begins to write. My beloved, I am writing to tell you that I will not return from the war. 3 days ago, our generals ordered us to attack. It was an absolutely useless slaughter. I was hit in the leg and my wound became infected. The doctors say that I have only a short time to live. I've lived these last few days being ready at every moment, ready to attack, ready to kill. Killing is the key word in our story. Although they keep telling us that we have to kill to survive, I would rather say live to kill. That's how I lived every minute of that hell. Without hygiene, without rest, without joy, without life. Honestly, there is no life left in this place because killing human beings is not a life. How have I come to this point? You told me that you have been pregnant since my leave 2 months ago in your last letter. So when our child is born, you must tell him that his father died a hero of France, and above all, make sure that he never goes into the army so that he doesn't die stupidly like me. And you, my sweet, I am unhappy to say goodbye on a piece of paper. I hope we'll meet again in another world. I will always love you. Your Jean. As gently as a ghost can, I step aside and leave Jean with his sweet fiancée and this crowded hospital. Outside in the square, soldiers are gathered. The whole company has been formed in a square. I approach to get a better look. A firing squad occupies one side. The faces of the soldiers are emotionless. 2 cars brought 2 men. Escorted by 4 non-commissioned officers, the unfortunate men are led to the middle of the square. They are blindfolded and their hands are tied. Then an officer reads out their charges. The 2 men had left their trench and refused to return. They were tried that morning by court-martial. Their public execution will serve as an example. After the reading, the 2 condemned men were brought to their knees, without any gesture or murmur of refusal. The company is put at the weapon presentation. The handle of their rifle is in the palm of the right hand, the gun along the body. Some look away from the scene, disgusted. The adjutant commanding the firing squad calls out, "Ready!" The 12 soldiers, their arms trembling, take up their positions facing the 2 kneeling men. Fire! "12 shots are fired. I close my eyes and try to block out the sounds of the soldiers' footsteps marching by the 2 shot men. When I open them again, the nightmare is behind me. I am lying in my bed more than a century later. I am ready to bear witness to the lives of the men and women who risked their lives, ready to dive back into history to bring back their past. I am prepared to become the conduit of their memories. Has this story touched you? Then it's time to go to the Land of Memory territory to immerse yourself in the adventure in the places where it took place. The itinerary Life in the Trenches can be discovered on the website landofmemory.eu. To visit in particular the reconstituted trenches of Châtencourt and bayonets in Verdun.